Good evening and welcome to tonight's Board of Zoning Appeals for Wednesday, November the 12th. We call the roll, please.
Kelly Cruz Nicholson, Jeff Cook,
Here.
Rob Tidrow,
Here.
Sayward Salazar,
Here.
Nathan Sheets,
Here.
Josh Imhoff.
Here.
We do have a quorum tonight, and if everybody would stand and cite the pledge with me. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. We received the minutes from the 10:15 meeting in our packet tonight. There's no additions or corrections. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve. I'll second.
A motion and a second to approve the minutes from 10:15:25. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You have proof of publication?
Yes, thank you. This notice was published in advance. It states the time, date, place, and items on the agenda for the hearings being held tonight. I would ask the board to please make a motion to accept the proof of publication.
You have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve proof of publication.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve proof of publication. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
New business, BZA 18-2025, petition of the Rothwell family. Are they on Zoom or? Oh,
They're here.
sorry, didn't. Come on up and retell us about your petition.
Please state your name and
Yes.
address for the record.
Yes. So my name is Michael Rothwell, my wife Jennifer Rothwell. We currently reside at 3004 Oaklawn Court in Arlington, Texas. Our reason for being here tonight is we're requesting a special exception to allow a non-owner occupied short-term rental at our property at 3190 Toddsbury Lane here in Richmond. The property is currently zoned as R2 medium-density, single-family residential. My parents and my wife's dad and her brother and his family live in the area. We grew up in Eaton. I've worked in Richmond for 8.5 years for, I don't know if you know Ron Mays Design Group, but Richmond is very dear to our hearts, and that's why we chose a property here in Richmond. We make it up here between 6, 8, sometimes 10 weeks a year to visit with family. Wife's a teacher. We come up in the summers for 4 weeks a lot of times, try to get here for a month and just to enjoy the property ourselves while we get to visit with family, and also Thanksgiving, Christmas time, we spend time with the family. So this special exception request is to allow us to rent the property out for the short periods between the times when my family and I are not occupying the dwelling. So this does fall within the definition of a short-term rental unified development ordinances on pages 11 and 35. This request is consistent with the zoning district and the Richmond Comprehensive Plan and is reasonable and consistent per the zoning code of Indiana 36-1-24-9, which were passed in 2019 and again in 2022. And from my research, there was some opposition in Carmel, Indiana, to the allowability of short-term rentals, and the state of Indiana passed the law to protect the rights of the homeowners who wish to obtain a special exception. For our property, there does not appear to be a potential public safety, moral, or welfare impact different than any other single-family residential use. The special exception is in harmony with all adjacent land uses. The special exception will not alter the character of the district. The special exception will not impact property value. In fact, our upkeep and remodel of the property has and will contribute to the increase in the value of the surrounding properties. The short-term rental occupants will use the property similarly to current approved uses as a short-term residence for a single family. This is all consistent with Indiana Code 36-1-24-9 and not prohibiting or unreasonably restricting short-term rental use. So our petition meets the guidelines under these codes, and we do appreciate your consideration.
Thank you.
Any questions to petitioners?
I do not have any.
Thank you. With that, I'll open public hearing for, BZ 18-2025. If you want to speak in favor of or in opposition to this petition, please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Can we say both of our names at the same time? We have the same address.
Yes.
Is that okay? I'm Miriam, and this is Jeremy. Our last name is Voorhees, and we live at 3112 Toddsbury Lane in Richmond, Indiana. Do you want me to talk first? Sorry, Jeremy just got here from work, so he's rushing. We really like the Rothwells, and we just want to, they know how we feel about this, and we love what they're trying to do, and we really do care about them as people and their family, and we want them to be able to keep this as their vacation home, but it is not what we wish for our family to continue to live next to a short-term rental. We provided you with information as far as police records that were made. There was also an incident that I outlined in my report that I gave to you about an altercation with some of the other renters that they were having, and we had to take our children inside so they didn't see it. Toddsbury Lane is a very close-knit community. We look out for one another. I'm sure that the Rothwells would do the same if they lived in the area more than just a few weeks out of the year. So in this no way, there's no good answer to this really. We just, we don't like the revolving door of people living next to us. We do feel like that is not, according to the way that the petition says, we do not agree that it doesn't change the nature of our neighborhood. We very much feel that it does change the nature of our neighborhood. We trust all of our neighbors. We have never had anyone have a fist fight that I know of or have seen, and no one has yelled at me or used curse words in front of me and my children until tenants began to occupy that home on a short-term basis. So we do feel like that very much is not in agreement with what their petition says. Also, we do have a statement from a realtor, which Jeremy will talk about, maybe not directly affecting the resale value, but perhaps the resale of the property should someone else that's coming to buy the property find out that it is next to a short-term rental property. We left our previous home because we lived next to rental properties, and that is why we moved, just simply because there was a lot of discourse and just crazy things would happen, and we wanted to live somewhere where it was consistent. You had the same neighbors, and for 16 years, we did have that. So I'll let Jeremy talk.
One of the realtors is one of the neighbors on Toddsbury Lane. I asked him how it would negatively affect, and the quote is, the research I've done has shown that property values decrease in Airbnb or rental neighborhoods, and buyers are less likely to purchase a home next to an Airbnb or rental, which would make the value of the home go down being sold. In addition, I work with multiple families. I have 2 families that I work with, which the parents are realtors, and they both explained that the rentals in the neighborhood, like in our neighborhood, negatively affects the resale price and interest in real estate homes. I think starting with the incidents from last summer, where there were multiple police reports that weren't available during the first meeting, now they're available. 2 of those police reports, I believe, were initiated from Miriam at 2 or 3 in the morning after going out and telling the renters, like verbally, like, look, we need to keep it down. The dogs need to be contained and stopped. So just since that point has negatively affected my family, particularly Miriam and my 2 boys, one of them with special needs. The most recent incident where the construction workers, approximately July, were drinking and fighting in the backyard that is visible from our front and backyards. Our children were immediately placed inside in fear of danger or escalation of the incident. Since the incidents last summer, both my wife and youngest child especially have had persistent anxiety following the incident in which the police reports were filed after my wife suffered harassment and intimidation from the renters in front of my children, when I was at work, she didn't feel safe in the home. And within 2 or 3 days after that incident, she didn't feel safe to the point where she actually left the home, stayed with her mom with the kids for a night or two, and then rented a hotel for the remainder of their stay, for the whole 10-day stay. And since then, it's just like every time there's a renter going into that home, there's that anxiety, like looking out the window. They see them, like they're worried that that's going to take place again, just not knowing who's renting. We have no clue. We don't know the screening process, all of that stuff. The only other thing I have is following up with what Miriam said. I said, please understand that this opposition to the proposed rental permit is in no way a dispute against the Rothwell family. I very much enjoyed the interactions, especially with Ray, Mike, and Mary and their family. I went over to help the elderly parents with home projects in the fall, like when they're raking leaves and things, and help them out. The opposition is based on the detrimental effects that the rental has proposed in my family and the rest of our neighborhood. We actually had a neighborhood get together for fall maybe a month ago, and there were probably 25 people there, and nobody on that street in the neighborhood was in favor of this rental or being a short-term rental in the neighborhood.
And if they were given something to vote, because some of them didn't, not all of Tawdry Lane was able to vote, it must be how it's, how they determine like proximity to the property to have them vote. They did send in their vote for that.
And there was another neighbor that said that they sent an email by noon today, because she thought she was going to make it, but she wasn't able to. That's all I have.
Questions?
I have none.
I just have one. Other than the two incidents that you told us about last night and kind of high level tonight in the police reports, were there others?
Yes, there was one where in approximately July. Construction workers, they must have just gotten off because they were in their construction uniforms. They were, I got home, it was maybe 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the evening, still light out. They were visibly drinking in the backyard, and they started escalating from a verbal altercation, and it got a little physical, and that's when the boys, we don't want them to see it and experience it, and you don't know what's going to happen, so we immediately moved them inside. And
So there were 3 total events then?
yeah, but the police weren't called on that report. Or there were 3 police reports filed, I think 3 or 4, last August with the 10-day coon hunting dogs that were howling 3 or 4 in the morning. The 2 of the police reports, the first 2 were initiated by Miriam on consecutive nights at between 2 and 3 a.m. There was a 3rd police report that was initiated from the renters. I guess there was another neighborhood dog in the house or in the neighborhood that was barking, and they didn't want it to be called on them. But then 3-4 days later, I had guests over on that Saturday night after the 3rd police report, about 3 days later, and they still heard those coonhounds at 4 a.m.
I think that's the concern, that it continued, it didn't stop. And it was 10 days. The other people, thankfully, I did reach out to Jennifer, and she did answer me, because I asked how long they were staying, and they were leaving the next day, and we didn't see it being an issue to push since they were leaving. It doesn't take it away that it did happen.
Sure. How long were the construction workers there?
I think just a couple days, maybe. I really couldn't say. I don't pay tons of attention. If they're not drawing attention to themselves, I don't really always notice. But we noticed the one day that they were drawing attention to themselves. I don't think it was terribly long.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thanks.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this petition? Hi. You would state
Deborah
your-
Harris,
Thank you. And your address?
3121 Dorothy Lane. We live directly behind them and have seen people come and go and have not had the same experience that our neighbors have shared with you. I've found the people, if I'm in the backyard, I'll strike up a conversation. That's the type of person that I am. And I found them to be cordial, friendly, and going back to the solar eclipse, to the people that brought the dogs, to one of the events on, I believe, it was Labor Day weekend. I didn't notice dogs barking or making noises, and we have a dog, and our dog will usually bark if other dogs are barking. And I didn't notice anyone drinking in the backyard this summer.
Questions?
I have no questions.
Thank
No
you.
question.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Yes.
Yeah, on the, let's see, where to start. The incident with the dogs that kind of seems to have been the genesis of all of this. We were in communication with those, as soon as we heard from Miriam, we were in communication with the renters, and we shared with them what the city ordinances were. Keep the dogs quiet. You know, we made a special exception for you to bring your dogs and keep them in the garage, but you have to keep them quiet or we're going to have to ask you to leave. And they assured us that they had done that. We do have video cameras with audio in the back of our home, and I sat probably and watched over 30 to 40 hours of video. And very rarely did I hear the dogs that they had barking or howling. But there was a neighbor who is catty-corner to us. It's to the right corner of us. It has a privacy fence. Apparently, they have a dog that smelled the dog. You could hear a dog barking, but it was not the dogs in our property. So we're constantly, I was in contact with them. I was on the phone with them. And to quote them, they said that Miriam approached them, was hollering, was very disrespectful and rude to them. So they basically returned in kind. That's their statement. So again, we watched videos and tried to capture all this. That was just outside of the frame. So we didn't see the actual occurrence that they were talking about. One of the fights I think that they're speaking of, I don't know, we never saw that on camera at all. We were never notified of it. The only thing that we have is there was a family there. There were two younger guys. Yes, they were drinking. We had just reseeded the backyard. Well, the older cousin or somebody decided to teach the younger kid how to wrestle. And there was foul language, and they were wrestling, and they were fighting in that little grassy area. But it was not a fist fight that we saw. So again, those are, to answer some of those positions, I guess to say, is
I would like to add two more things, because we do, Mary and I are in contact, we're praying for one another, and we want just God's will to be done in this. But there were two concerns that were brought up to us. One, that we allowed the dogs. In retrospect, I would never do that again, and we have never done that again. It was a Autumn Oaks competition at a Wayne County Fairgrounds. And when they said their little girl was competing and they couldn't find a place to stay, we got soft-hearted, as long as they would comply to have them in the garage and pick up after themselves so that they wouldn't make a disturbance in the neighborhood. And that, and the other thing that we have decided was, we will never let pets there again. Absolutely never. The competition's come and gone, youth or not, we have not let anyone come again. And he did mention that the camera was right side out of the frame. We have now installed a camera so that we can monitor anyone that comes even on that side in between the properties. We have learned from that error and judgment, so we will not ever let pets stay there again. And now we can even monitor in all angles around the house. And anytime that Miriam has, and she's already stated this, or contacted us about something, we are in communication so that we want to be good neighbors. We really do.
We do.
I do have a question that I just popped into my head. How long has this property been an Airbnb?
3 years?
And so why now are you here for the variance?
Well, I shared this either with Monica or Joanne, I don't remember which one. But when we first bought the property, we first moved here and decided that we'd love to make this our RV or a Verbo. We contacted with someone in the city of Richmond and said, what do we need to do to make this happen? And there's really nothing, don't worry about it. So we didn't do anything about it. So apparently we're here today because of, the Voorhees complaint, I guess, sparked that we didn't have a special exception for the property. We didn't even know we had to have one until this occurred. So that's why we're here now. That answers your question.
Prior to 2023, we didn't have anything in our code about short-term rentals, so it is possible that they had called the city and didn't have any guidance from the city.
This would have been in 2021, 22.
Thank you. I have no more questions. Anybody else?
I have no questions.
I'll make one more statement.
Yes.
I know I've done some more research. There's like 30 or 40 VRBO, B&B properties here in the city of Richmond. And, apparently there's only been 1 or 2 properties that have come before the board for a special exception. But the properties are out there. So I'm just a little concerned about setting a precedent that's saying no one can have a VRBO in this area if someone is simply uncomfortable with maybe a renter or 2 coming in. I think if this was denied, it does set a precedent that VRBOs just aren't allowed. That's, again, kind of my opinion, but that's how I kind of see this.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Hearing or seeing none, we'll close public hearing and hear the staff report again.
Thank you. I hope my voice holds out. The petition of the Rothwell Family Trust, owner Michael and Jennifer Rothwell, agents at 3190 Toddsbury Lane in Richmond, Indiana, requesting a special exception use to allow a non-owner occupied short-term rental to operate in the medium-intensity single-family residential district. The use is residential single-family. Zoning is medium-intensity single-family. Lot size is 17,990.28 square feet, 0.413 acres. The zoning in all directions is medium-density single-family residential. The land use in all directions is residential single-family. The UDO that we're seeking relief from is Section 209, medium intensity single-family residential development standards, special exception uses. Non-owner occupied short-term rental is listed as a special exception use that requires the Board of Zoning Appeals approval. The proposed special exception use would allow a non-owner occupied short-term rental to operate in the property. The subject property was built in 1967 as part of the Colonial Village subdivision platted in 1964. The owner is requesting approval to operate a non-owner occupied short-term rental in the R2 district. Our UDO was updated per ordinance 22-2023 to include non-owner occupied short-term rentals as a special exception use in the medium-density family zoning district. Owner and their extended family intends to occupy the dwelling for roughly 8 to 10 weeks per year. The property has never been granted a special exception before. On October 29th, 2025, the public hearing was advertised in the Western Wayne News. On October 30th, 2025, 21 adjacent property owners were notified about the variance and public hearing by mail.
We received 13 responses, 4 in favor, 9 opposed. Sierra Trust, 711 Henley Road, in favor. Chris and Randy Brown, 3211 Toddsbury Lane, in favor. Dexter and Steens, 3205 Toddsbury Lane, in favor. We have no opposition to this Airbnb. Thomas Lee and Darling Lee, 3200 Toddsbury Lane, in favor. I support the petition. The owners have completed many improvements to the property and always been available for any questions or concerns we might have, even though we have had no problems with them or their renters. They have their yard professionally mowed and kept very nice. Been great to have as a neighbor. They seem to be open to everyone's concern. Very nice to have met or to have next to us. Jan Parker. My name is Jan Parker, and I'm the backyard neighbor to the out-of-town homeowner petitioning for the Airbnb permit. Our neighborhood is built on stability and trust. Families with young children and elderly residents depend on a quiet, predictable environment. Short-term rentals, by their nature, bring a constant flow of strangers, people who have no long-term investment in our community. This creates safety concerns and erodes the sense of security we've worked hard to maintain. Let me share a recent example. Last summer, the property in question was rented out. Guests stayed up late outside at night that lasted well past midnight. Music and conversations loud, and strangers wandered near our yards. Neighbors were so anxious, many called me to check if everything was okay. This is not the peaceful environment we expect in our neighborhood. Beyond noise, there are practical issues, increased traffic, and the risk of property damage. These disruptions are not occasional inconveniences. They become a pattern when a home is used as a short-term rental. I urge you to consider the long-term well-being of our community. Families and seniors deserve a safe, quiet neighborhood, not one that feels like a revolving door of strangers. Please protect the character of our community by denying this request. Barbara A. Neal, 3200 Geraldine Lane, opposed. Dudley and Carrie Smith, 3211 Geraldine Lane, opposed. Tom and Mary Huth, 710 Toddsbury Lane, opposed. We oppose short-term rentals on our streets because, one, it's not in what our neighborhood was set up to be. Two, frequent turnover of guests raises safety and security concerns, which has already happened, and the police have had to be called when renters let their dogs bark outside all night long and intimidated the next-door neighbor when she tried to get help. 3, we live on a quiet and close-knit street and do not want that disrupted. 4, our street is zoned for residential living and should remain a stable, safe place for homeowners and families, not a place for transient use. Timothy Orr, opposed. I am writing in opposition to the petition of the Rothwell family for a non-owner occupied short-term rental at 3190 Toddsbury Lane. I have lived in this neighborhood for over 26 years. This has always been a very quiet neighborhood, and all the neighbors know each other. We look out for each other. I have seen some of their children grow up. In essence, we are somewhat of a family. Since the Rothwells purchased this home, it was said it would be a seasonal home for them, and we were never informed that they would be using this as anything but a seasonal home. There have been several instances where the short-term tenants have caused serious concern for our neighbors' safety. The Voorhees, who live directly next door, have suffered the most and have been threatened and intimidated by several renters that had total disregard for anyone's peace and tranquility that this neighborhood used to provide. The local police have been called to this residence multiple times due to disturbances. Several of the wonderful people and neighbors in this neighborhood have seriously considered selling and moving elsewhere. We pay our fair share of property taxes, plus a ditch assessment. The owners cannot possibly screen the renters who are submitting applications, excuse me, enough to assure that there will be no issues. As we are all aware, online, you can pretty much create what you want and not tell the truth. Carol and C.F. Coleman, 700 Toddsbury Lane. We remain opposed to the petition of October 10th, 2025 for the same reasons. Thank you for your extended consideration for the peace and safety for your Richmond homeowners. Jeremy and Miriam Voorhees, 3112 Toddsbury Lane. They wanted to reiterate they had turned in some police reports, text, email communications, research findings, and of resale of homes next to VRBOs, Colonial Village protective covenants, rebuttal to the Rothwell's application according to city code. And that has all been, the board has that in their possession. Jeremy and Miriam Voorhees. We have lived on Toddsbury Lane for 16 years. We love our home and our neighborhood. We could never have imagined wanting to move until a few years ago, when the home next door became a VRBO, rental property. Since that time, we have had an influx of constant strangers living next to us. We have 2 children and do not appreciate not knowing who we live next to. Last summer, we had to call the police several times due to noisy dogs on the property. When we asked the renters to quiet the pets, they laughed at us and called us names. The Rothwells sent them an email, but they completed their 10-day stay. Renters continued to be rude and hateful throughout the stay. In July 2025, other renters began to have a loud verbal altercation that appeared to be escalating to a near physical altercation. We chose to live in a nice and quiet neighborhood to avoid such behavior. We no longer wish to live next door to a VRBO. This has gone on too long, and we are respectfully requesting that the City of Richmond not approve the special permit for this property to be used as a VRBO. Heather and Edward Calvin, 3127 Dorothy Lane. Our subdivision is a quiet, family-oriented neighborhood where residents value safety, stability, and a strong sense of community. Allowing short-term rentals would introduce a transient population with frequent guest turnover, which increases traffic, noise, and security concerns. It would disrupt the peaceful environment that families and children depend on and could reduce property values over time. Our neighborhood was designed for long-term residents who contribute to and care for the community, not for commercial lodging use. That's there.
Thank you.
Questions of the staff?
I have none.
None.
We haven't
Oh,
finished.
sorry.
Oh, sorry about that.
Let's see it.
The planning staff consulted with all city departments and utilities to determine any objections based on public health and safety, and no health and safety objections were raised. With that being said, there was an incident that occurred in August 2024 involving the rental home at 3190 Toddsbury Lane. The renters, who owned several dogs, caused disturbances with their neighbors at 3112 Toddsbury Lane due to excessive dog barking and general rudeness. The homeowners of 3112 Toddsbury Lane consequently contacted the police multiple times. The relevant police reports regarding these incidences are included in your packets. The staff recommends approving the application to allow a non-owner occupied short-term rental to operate in the medium single-family residential R2 district upon these findings of facts. The proposed special exception is consistent with the purpose of the zoning district and the Richmond Comprehensive Plan because non-owner occupied short-term rental is listed as a special exception in the R2 district. The code was changed per ordinance 22-2023. The use does conflict with the Richmond Comprehensive Plan. The plan's future land use map, page 57, identifies the property as part of a traditional neighborhood which serves as a transition between the rural and high-density areas such as commercial corridors and mixed urban development. A non-owner occupied short-term rental should not interfere with the residential characteristics of a traditional neighborhood. Number 2, the proposed special exception will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community because the applicant states that a short-term rental occupant will use the property similarly to the current approved use as a short-term residence for a single family. As such, the property will be subject to the same nuisance regulations as every other residential use as outlined in Article 5.67 of the UDO. The tenants will be pre-screened through Verbo and commit to follow the house rules, which include quiet times as not to disturb neighbors. Parties and loud events will not be permitted on the property, and the pets will not be permitted. Please see written commitment number 1. The proposed special exception is in harmony with all adjacent land uses because short-term rental occupants will use property similarly to the current approved use as a residence for a single family while attending college, graduation, school, or family reunions or vacationing. The proposed special exception will not alter the character of the district because, as with previous criteria, the proposed use must remain consistent with R2 zoning, which includes non-owner occupied short-term rentals as a special exception use. The property is still required to adhere to R2 development standards. There appears to be minimal or no impact on the character of the district. Number 5, the special exception will not adversely impact property value because the impact of a non-owner occupied short-term rental should have minimal effect on the surrounding community. There is one written commitment. If approved, visitors shall not be permitted to bring pets onto the property. And be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Nope. So I have one. Maybe a couple more. So this property has been a short-term rental property since before the ordinance was changed. So I'm going to ask you guys the same question I asked the petitioner. Why are we here? If it was already allowed to be when they started, and then the ordinance changed, other than a complaint, why are we here to hear this variance? Should it not be grandfathered?
Okay, so what I don't know and what I do know will be made apparent, but I'm not entirely sure that when staff knew that this had already been grandfathered in. If I was told that, I don't remember it, and I'm sorry, but I'm learning it tonight. So in my opinion, though, when they submit an application for this special exception, they then subject themselves to our rules, whether they were grandfathered or not. Now, they did state that on the record, so that would be a topic of appeal if this were to be denied and then go up for an appeal. It is stated on the record, so it is preserved for a court record. But in my view, arguably, when they get the complaint or whatever it was that brought this to their attention that, hey, you don't have a special exception use, you're now under our UDO, and there is an argument, possibly an argument that every new rental could be a new situation. So, yes, the property was primarily used for a seasonal property, but there is a good legal argument that possibly each new VRBO rental agreement is establishing a new use. Now, again, that's something that we would argue in court. I'm not saying that that would necessarily be an argument, but it could be argued in court. They have preserved it for the record, though. I don't remember it being said at the first hearing, if this was, it's new to me. I don't know if it's new to you guys.
That's kind of was going to be my comment as well.
I think at the first hearing, I had asked the question, how long had this been a VRBO, to look at a timeline? So there were 2 events, I think, in 4 years is what I remember from that meeting before.
Okay. And maybe I was a little bit more focused on getting the police reports, making sure, okay, when did all this go down? The 3 reports that I had, they were all dated in '24.
And I don't think we talked about the fact that prior to a certain date, that they didn't need a special variance in order to have a VRBO, which is why we're
That
seeing
would-
that increase of people
Yeah.
coming to us with this.
So I think what happened was the complaint came to us, and then Mr. Rothwell contacted our office to say, hey, I want to go for the special exception
Yeah.
for the non-owner occupied short-term rental.
And I think technically, prior to 2023, we would have treated this as a variance of use. Just so it's, it's not quite residential, it wasn't a defined use. So in theory, there would have been a process to have gone through at the time. But because we didn't have anything on the books, as Mr. Rothwell noted, many of these slipped through the cracks prior to 2023.
Does that help? A
A
little?
little.
A little?
I made the statement last month, and I want to reiterate it tonight, that if this was a traditional rental or lease, then we wouldn't be here tonight. There would be no reason to have the variance, only because it's a short-term rental by definition, correct?
By
And with the
states.
same nuisance standards that apply to anybody else. I mean, if this was a straight-up yearly lease rental or even a month-to-month rental, you're absolutely right, that we wouldn't be here, and then they would still be subject to all of those nuisance laws and criminal laws and civil laws, anything that, someone would want to bring a civil lawsuit. Again, they would talk to a private attorney about that, but
But even as a homeowner, aren't I responsible to stay in those guidelines for non-nuisance activities on my property?
Yeah. And then I think I probably mentioned this last time, but by state statute, if it was an owner-occupied short-term rental, so if the Rothwells lived in the house, it would be permitted by right as well. So similarly, we wouldn't be here.
So, we also talked about precedents being set, and each petition is reviewed, denied, or approved on its own merit.
so in this case, where there could have been an argument, and there is an argument preserved for the record about it being grandfathered, the fact that they submitted an application, it's almost kind of like, well, they sort of waived that, because they have submitted an application, and maybe they could have refused to do that when they first got notice of the complaints. They maybe could have done that, and then we would have looked at that from an internal staff standpoint. Being that I didn't know about it until tonight, or I didn't really connect the dots when Sayward brought it up last time, I'm gonna tender a legal argument if this were to ever get to court that, hey, they availed ourselves of our zoning processes.
Absolutely. No, you can't speak anymore. My further question is, however many Airbnbs, short-term rentals we have in Richmond, either denying or approving this petition, does it set a precedence that if we deny this petition, then a neighbor, somebody down the street from one of the other, files a complaint, and then the owner comes in and says, hey, I want to address the complaint. How do I do that? We got to get a special exception. And now we're right back into this revolving door of,
So,
where I'm going, Kim and everybody, is in 99% of the cases that I've heard in the 12 years I've been on this committee, we did one-off merits, and everything stood on its own accord. With this one, regardless of which way it goes, I think we have, I don't know what adjective I want to use. are we opening ourselves up for future hearings on this same variance based on what we decide tonight, by setting a precedence either for or against?
Well, I would argue, and maybe Dustin has a different opinion, I would argue no, because each special exception use would have to go through all of those criteria. So each property, each street, each situation, and again, staff is learning as the board is learning, there might be a future application, completely different road, completely different neighborhood, where they say, well, we've had issues with this, with this, with this. What kind of commitments are you willing to enter into if we were to recommend approval? So setting a precedent is always a concern. And again, Dustin, if you have a different take on this, I'm still going to hearken back to each special exception would have to have their own application, their own review process, their own criteria evaluation in front of staff and the board.
Yeah, I mean, I would reiterate this. I'm in agreement with Kim. I think by its very nature, a special exception is designed to be reviewed on a case-by-case basis. It would be something that's been identified as, potentially an appropriate use in that district, but it's been determined that it would be good to have the board kind of take a look at it before approving it. So I don't think you would be setting yourself up for precedent one way or the other.
No more questions?
I will make a motion to approve BZA 18-2025 based on the finding of fact and one written commitment.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve BZA 18-2025 based on a staff report and written commitment. Call the roll, please.
Jeff Cook,
No.
Rob Tidrow,
No.
Sayward Salazar,
Yes.
Nathan Sheets,
Yes.
Josh Imhoff.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Get an HOA.
Next on our agenda is BZA 21-2025, Matthew Ridgway and Mr. George Sowers.
This is a petition by Matthew Ridgway for sufficient variances to allow him to construct a second accessory structure for his residence, which is located at 121 South 6th Street. There is already one accessory structure. It consists of 935 square feet, and based upon the current size of the residence, it slightly exceeds the permitted size of the accessory structure, although it is an existing non-conforming use. Having said that, this petition is to seek variances which would allow the construction of an additional accessory structure, which is proposed to be 42 feet by 64 feet. And this would allow the petitioner to, it will have 3 garage doors on it, and it would allow the petitioner to store 3 of his vehicles, which he currently has and doesn't have room to store indoors. One of the reasons for this is that he is also the sole shareholder of I&R Inc., which is the property upon which Ike's Motorcycle Sales is located, and is also the property that is leased to First Bank's Branch Bank, and also a residence along South A Street. And there are security issues in that part of town. And this evening, I submitted a thumb drive to Dustin It lasts about 2 minutes showing a guy walking around and eventually throwing rocks in the parking lot for First Bank. So if granted, this it would reconfigure the properties also listed as 620 South 6th Street and 614 South 6th Street, because the building would actually be constructed on the large part of 620 South B Street, 620 South B Street, and a portion of the backyard of the residence at 614 South B Street. So if the variances are granted, then there would need to be an administrative subdivision process approving the reconfiguration of most of 620 South B and part of 614 South B to adjust to be a part of 621 South 6th Street. And I have a couple handouts that might help it make more sense.
Thank you.
Here's another handout. I know I could have the unused ones back. I would appreciate it. If you look at the first handout, which shows the zoning, I've written 121 on the residence on South 6th Street. That's the petitioner's residence. He lives there, has lived there for many years. And you can see the configuration of that lot is rather strange, probably because of the buildings that exist. And if you look to the north where it says GC, that's General Commercial, the I&R Inc. owns that. That is Matt Ridgway also. He is the shareholder of I&R Inc. And Ike's motorcycle sales are located on the southern part of that GC area. And then First Bank Richmond has their motor bank there. And then along the alley is a rental residence. The proposal, because of the lack of security, and as I say, I submitted a thumb drive to Dustin showing a fellow walking around the buildings throwing rocks into the parking lot. There's a security concern, and Matt has 3 vehicles that he cannot garage at this present time. So he would like to build this structure that is 42 by 64 for purposes of maintaining a garage. It will have 3 doors on it. And like I say, if reconfigured, then we have to administratively reconfigure the lots on administrative subdivision. The current property that we wish to build on is located in urban residential, but is adjacent to general commercial. And there is already an existing barn, which I've shown in the handout, that is located just on the alley, just north of where we propose to put the new structure, and that is in general commercial. And that barn, I am told, was where horses were stored when they delivered milk with horse-drawn milk wagons. And then it extends to the left of what we used to call on the farm as a tramp shed. But we need a variance because this new structure will exceed the floor plan of the actual the floor size of the actual residence. The square footage would be 2,688 square feet. So we're asking for the variance to allow this a second accessory structure where there's already one permitted that's slightly over the zoning requirement. And also, this would require reconfiguration of the lots of 614 and 620 South B, most of which would be would handle the new structure, but it would take part of the backyard of 614. So with the variances to permit this structure, we would then need to reconfigure the lots, which is an additional second process, but there's no point in doing that if we don't get the approval for the construction of this garage. Now, Matt Ridgway is with me tonight. He was seated next to me. If there are factual questions you'd like to have answered, I would certainly defer to him. It's his residence, his garage. I would submit to you that it's a real advantage to have the owner of a local business living in this neighborhood, in support of this neighborhood, and I would hope that you would find that approval of these variances to permit this structure would be favorable. And if I have questions, I'd be happy to answer them, or I will defer to Matt.
You have questions to Mr. Sowers?
So the issue is that the accessories, the structure that he wants to build is larger than what is allowed.
Yes, it's
Without coming through
substantially
this
larger, and it
process.
will reconfigure lots 614 and
So you're
620B,
smushing this together.
and that will also change the requirements for those lots.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Will the garage be, is it a commercial garage, or is it for personal use of?
This is for his personal use. The handout I showed you, the large building is within the general commercial. It relates to Ike's motorcycle sales, but he does, I'm glad you asked the question, because he does anticipate siding it so that they look the same. I think it's also important to note, if you drive up and down 6th Street, you can't see the existing barn. This barn will be sided to match the current barn. And again, that barn is not a part of 121 South 6th Street. It's in the commercial area, and it is described separately when you go on to Beacon. Even though it is actually behind 121, it is not a part of that described lot. And it is used largely for commercial purposes. I think Matt does have some things in there, but it's used largely for commercial purposes. And this, though, would be a structure for residential use, and we'd be willing to commit to that if that's the requirement of this body.
Any other questions of Mr. Sowers? Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, we can open up public hearing for BZA 21-2025. If there's anybody that wants to speak in favor or in opposition.
Hello, my name is Terry Harkle. My real estate office is at 117 South 4th Street here in Richmond. I'm very familiar with the Ridgway family and their family business, their buildings, their properties, their interest in the community, and their interest in the neighborhood being nice, well cared for, and an attractive and nice place to live. So I am certainly, I think that this is a great thing for them. I own real estate at these locations within about a softball toss of where he wants to put his building. I own 137 South 7th Street, 136 South 7th Street, 200 South 7th, 204 South 7th, and directly across I own 617 South B, 615 South B, 611 and 13 South B, 201, 203, and 205 South 6th Street. So I have 19 renters. All of my properties are very well maintained, very well cared for. There are no police reports on those anytime. So I really like their work. I like what they do. They're great neighbors. They always care, and they always are a good part of the neighborhood. So certainly I hope for approval.
Thank you.
Anyone have any questions for me? No. Thank you.
If I make one more comment, I would like for Dustin to show you the thumb drive that takes about 2 minutes showing why he has concerns and why he wants an enclosed structure to store 3 of his vehicles, which are stored outside right now. And he's got a son that's approaching getting his driver's license. There's going to be another vehicle involved. He needs the storage, and he would like to stay near his business.
It's a great camera. Nighttime views.
It is a good camera.
Is there anybody else wishing to speak?
I'm Bobby Kupovitz. I own a business on South 7th Street. They have been exceptional neighbors. They have watched my property when it's not been in business. They have tore down buildings that was vacant. They have cleaned up the neighborhood. So what they're asking is not for a whole lot of things. It's just safety of their cars and to keep them a good neighbor in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? With that, we'll close public hearing and hear the staff report.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll take this one. BZA 21 is the petition of Matthew Ridgway, owner, George Sowers is the agent, located at 121 South 6th Street, 614 South B Street, and 620 South B Street in Richmond, requesting 3 variances of development standards to A, exceed the maximum individual and cumulative square footage for an accessory structure, B, allow an accessory structure to be located in a front yard, and C, reduce minimum lot area and rear yard setback requirements in the urban residential zoning district. The current use is single-family residential, 2-family residential, and a vacant residential lot. Zoning is urban residential, and the combined lots are about half of an acre. Adjacent zoning to the north is urban residential and general commercial. To the south, east, and west is urban residential. Adjacent land use to the north is single-family residential and commercial storage barn. To the south are 3 2-family residentials. To the east is single-family residential, 3-family residential, vacant residential, and commercial medical clinic or office. And to the west is single-family residential, 2 2-family residential properties, and residential apartments of 4+ units. The proposed variance would allow the petitioner to combine the 3 subject properties and construct a 2,688 square foot accessory structure to store vehicles and other personal property. In approving the variance, the board would allow the petitioner to exceed the maximum permitted square footage for a residential accessory structure from 60% of the footprint of the primary structure to roughly 219%, and increase the cumulative square footage of all accessory structures on the property, which is a maximum of 75% of the footprint, from roughly 76% to around 296%. The variance would also permit an accessory structure to be placed in the front yard as the newly combined lot would front both South 6th and South B Streets, with the structure located in the front yard facing South B Street. Finally, the reconfigured property lines would reduce the size of the adjacent property, address 614 South B Street, creating a non-conforming lot that fails to meet the minimum lot area and minimum rear yard setback requirements. The background, BZA 21-2025 is the first part of a proposed multi-step process. The petitioner would first like to adjust the property lines of their three properties. The current lot lines are outlined in yellow, and I have this up on the screen. The requested lot line adjustment would eliminate Lot 2, reduce the size of Lot 3, and expand Lot 1, creating a through lot that fronts both South 6 and South B Streets. On the expanded east portion of Lot 1, the petitioner would like to construct a 64 by 42-foot accessory structure to store personal vehicles and other personal property near his business and residence, which is located at 111 South 6th Street and 121 South 6th Street, which is Lot 1, respectively. To adjust the property lines, the petitioner must apply for an administrative subdivision, which will require a survey of the properties with the proposed new lot lines. Administrative subdivisions must be approved by planning staff and the president of Richmond's Advisory Plan Commission. According to UDO Article 9.16B2A and 9.16E2, the proposed administrative subdivision should not be approved as the resulting lots create at least two nonconformities. The petitioner has opted to seek the necessary variances from the BZA prior to moving forward with the survey for the administrative subdivision. UDO Article 7.11B4 discourages the establishment of through lots in residential subdivisions. None of these properties have previously been granted a variance. On October 29th, the public hearing was advertised in Western Wayne News. On October 30th, 37 adjacent property owners were notified about the variance and public hearing by mail, and I believe we received several responses.
We received 15 responses in favor. A Robert Bowen, 200 South 6th Street, in favor. Kyle Tom, 801 North A Street, in favor. A Devin Batiste, 305 Sunset Avenue in Centerville, in favor. Then we received 10 responses in favor from INR Incorporated, Matt Ridgway. We also received 2 with comments. Terry Harkle Road, 117 South 4th. Matthew Ridgway has always been a positive, energized member of the neighborhood. His work, his vision is always good for the area. And from Barbara Connor, 127 South 6th Street. Matthew is always looking for ways to improve our neighborhood. He goes above and beyond for our area.
Planning staff consulted with all city departments and utilities to determine any objection based on public health and safety. No public health and safety objections were raised. Staff recommends denying the petition to exceed maximum square footage for a residential accessory structure, allow an accessory structure to be placed in a front yard, and reduce minimum lot area and setback standards in the urban residential district based on the following findings of fact. Number 1, the approval of the variance will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community because the proposed garage will be accessed from the adjacent north-south alley and should not obstruct visibility for vehicular traffic. RP&L's Assistant General Manager Skip Moore informed planning staff that RP&L have worked with the petitioner on a plan to relocate the existing utility pole along with the power, cable, and phone lines that currently cross the proposed building site. Number 2, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will be affected in a substantially adverse manner because the subject properties are located within the Old Richmond neighborhood, which is a registered National Historic District. Most of the neighborhood, including 121 South 6th Street, is part of John Smith's original 1816 town plat, and as a result, the neighborhood is a dense mix of small urban residential and commercial lots. The subject properties are located within a block of numerous historic homes as recognized by the Indiana Historic Sites and Structures Inventory, within a half a block northeast of the historic Bethel AME Church, 1.5 blocks east of a collection of restaurants, shops, and apartments located along South 5th Street, and 2 blocks south of the 150-unit mixed-use apartment building that is currently under construction on the corner of 6th and East Main Street. The proposed lot reconfiguration would eliminate a residential lot on South B Street that, prior to 2023, housed a residential dwelling for approximately 173 years. Additionally, the lot line adjustment would create a second non-conforming lot at 614 South B Street. In their place would be a through lot that fronts both South 6 and South B Streets, with 2 front yards separated by 5 houses along their respective streets, to accommodate a storage structure that is over 3.5 times the maximum permitted size. While this particular part of the Old Richmond neighborhood has seen significant decline in recent decades, it is the opinion of planning staff that the proposed plans would exacerbate this by eliminating a building lot and creating 2 non-conforming lots that disrupt the streetscape and create properties that may be harder to sell in the future, thus reducing this block's ability to potentially benefit from nearby redevelopment. Number 3, the strict application of the terms of the ordinance will not result in practical difficulties in the use of the property, because 121 South 6th Street, which is the property that would ultimately house the proposed 2,688 square foot structure, already has a 935 square foot garage, which itself exceeds the maximum cumulative square footage for an accessory structure on a lot of this size. Additionally, the petitioner owns the adjacent 2,016 square foot barn and attached 1,152 square foot lean-to, which is also used for storage, which is to say the petitioner already has significantly more storage area than one should expect in a dense urban residential neighborhood. To accommodate the structure, the petitioner would have to combine all or part of 3 separate properties, which would create at least 2 non-conforming lots that may create difficulties for future owners of the property. I have no written commitments and would be happy to address any questions that you may have.
So I have a couple of questions. The existing structures are in general commercial? The 2 existing accessory structures.
I'll turn on the zoning here. So this one, the large barn that Mr. Sowers shared the photos of, that's zoned general commercial. The one that's just south of that is just part of the residential lot. This one is a residential accessory structure.
That one does not exceed, the one that's on the current property that we're talking about does not exceed.
It does, just barely, but
Okay.
it's legal nonconforming.
Other questions?
No question.
So I have a question, sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
So this is more than a garage. This is essentially like a barn. Is that what is being asked for? Not very good at like, oh, it's X number of square feet. I don't know. I'm not good at that part.
So it's a large building, but it will be used only as a private garage, an accessory building to the residents. Mr. Ridgway now has 3 vehicles that he's unable to garage, and he anticipates getting another one when his son starts driving. And it's not, he wants a safe place to store his vehicles.
I get that. I think my concern is putting a building that looks like the pictures you gave us, which is very, very commercial.
Okay, that is an existing barn.
Right,
And it
but
would be
if-
just south of that.
If it's going to look like this is what I'm concerned with, because if we're looking at making sure that we maintain a residential type of look for that area, I can see like, yes, a 4-car garage that looks like it belongs in a residential area. My concern is putting something that looks like a storage barn in a residential area. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't think it's not going to be as high as that barn.
Okay.
But if you go up and down 6th Street, if you look, you cannot see the current barn that's there, nor do I think you'll be able to see the garage once it's constructed. And it would be accessed from the alley. Now, because 620 South B is vacant, the house has been torn down, and believe me, no one's going to build a new house there. I mean, it did have a residence, doesn't now. When you're going down B Street, if you look north, you would be able to see it. You could see the barn now. But I think the important thing is when you go up and down 6th Street, you don't see this barn, you won't see this garage if it's approved and built. And I think it's important to help sustain the stability of the neighborhood, and we've got someone that lives there that owns a business, and I think that's important. But he has several vehicles that are not garaged and anticipates another one.
So I'd like to ask the question to Mr. Ridgway to maybe help Sayward's
Yeah.
question. If you don't mind, come up and state your name, address. I guess we kind of know your address.
Right. My name is Matt Ridgway. I live at 121 South 6th Street, Richmond, Indiana.
So Matt, the construction type on your garage, is it going to be a metal building or is it going to be a vinyl sided building to blend into more of a residential look, or have you decided yet?
Well, I originally wanted to do a pole structure, so like a pole accessory building, to kind of match what's already there. So, I mean, the picture that we provided you of the current one that's in the commercial zoning, my other buildings are also, they're commercial metal. And I don't think that it would, if I had to make it siding per se, where the dental lab is on the corner, it's a block building all the way around. The 614 house that is also mine, which I have to adjust for that when I re-survey it to have it combined to be the one. I think it's the current accessory structure that's already on there is a block garage. So, I mean, block doesn't hold paint. I'm going to take that structure and I'm going to probably metal side it to make it look what's already there. So, and just the other thing I would like to say, Dustin always, and I don't know maybe the legalities of this since the structure is now no longer there on 620 South B, where it's the empty lot where I want to primarily build this. It's not going to be in the front yard. It's the rear of my house of 121 South 6th, and it's the rear of 620 South B. So, I mean, it's not going to be in the front yard. It's going to make all of these garages, buildings that I have, easily accessible to use as a garage. Pull them in easy. I just ran into another issue with a company that's coming into town, Alta Fiber. They had subcontractors out running new fiber underground, and they were fine. They were fast, but one of their crew decided to hit the corner of my barn and damage it. So, not pointing fingers, they're going to come to town anyway. But yeah, I just, with being present, I've been there my entire life, basically. When I wasn't at 121 South 6th, I was at Ball State University getting my degrees, but I was still coming home every weekend to work. And I did reside at 614 South B Street for about 8 to 10 years. So I'm committed to the area. I've watched it my entire life kind of go downhill, and I'm at a point that I can try to at least maintain it in the sense of, I don't want to say controlling neighbors by any means, because the majority of these are all rentals, as Mr. Hawker Road is a big investor in that area too. So I'm just trying to, the two properties that I purchased to tear down, one of them I believe was on the blight program that was removed, and I ended up purchasing that and go ahead and tearing that down, and that was 130 South 7th, so it's right across the road, and you can see the construction, of it being tore down. So there's enough business in this area. I'm just trying to, you would be surprised if you ever want to come watch some interesting videos, I could probably show you what's walking up and down our alleys. So, I mean, I would like the person throwing the rocks could have easily did several $1,000s damage to some vehicles that are parked outside, and I just get to watch them do it, and then I have to, fix it. I would like to very much be able to construct a large enough accessory structure to put my stuff in.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Yes.
Terry Harkle Road again. I think what Matt's asking for is nothing that's unlike what Gallo and Linda did when they bought the Citadel Apartments at the corner of South 4th and A. They redid those apartments, and they tore down a residential property. That would have been about 120 South 4th Street. Or no, it would have been about 110 South 4th Street. I own 105, 107, 113, 15, 17, 29 to 31 there. And Gallo and Linda tore down a residential property to have parking, and it's a long metal building there, and that end of that metal building faces South 4th Street. If you turn right on 4th, you'll see the old Salvation Army building, and then there's an entrance and a little red metal building there that they use for their tenant parking for those apartments. They keep it neat and nice. It has not been a problem. And so I don't think Matt's asking for anything really unlike what they put on their building, and that was probably about, I'd say, time goes fast, maybe 14 or 15, 16 years ago. And I will comment about the building that he tore down at 620 South B. I don't think anyone said it yet, but I'll say it was a troubled property. And it was a real pain to have my tenants across the street from that and convince them that things are going to get better. And when he tore the house down, things got better because it was rotten and it was a lot of trouble. So everywhere he goes, things get a little bit better. There's not a lot of people coming in and investing and pouring big money into this neighborhood. This neighborhood is a very stagnated area. And if you'll actually go from even 4th Street to 5th Street to 6th Street to 7th Street, you'll see a big difference. There's no vacant properties on 4th Street, and we don't have any real big problems that way. But this is a challenged area, and this area needs something really positive. This is great for him if he can do it, because it'll be good for him, be good for his business, and good for everybody around it. And I'll be looking at the building, and let me tell you what, there's nothing wrong with looking at it. It's all good. Any other questions for me, please?
No.
Thank you very much.
I have a question. Dustin, you drew a few things on this map. Was there something you want to point out?
Oh, I just kind of, I think this is probably in the handout, but I was just measuring here to kind of give you an idea of what the footprint would look like. This is an estimation, obviously, but 42 by 64.
Okay, thank you. But I have a second one. This is basically the first step of a multi-step process. Goes through here. If it's approved, then it goes to the Planning Commission, right? For other adjustments, right?
Not the planning commissions, because it's not creating a new lot, it's an administrative subdivision, so it's only the planning commission president who would need to sign off on this.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve BZA 21-2025 based on the finding of fact, and there are no written commitments.
I'll second.
A motion and a second to approve BZA 21-2025 based on the staff report. Call the roll, please.
Jeff Cook,
Aye.
Rob Tidrow.
Aye.
Sayward Salazar.
Aye.
Nathan Sheets.
Aye.
Josh Inhofe.
Aye. Good luck. Petition pass. Next up, BZA 23-2025. Is the petitioner here? Brianna Walker, I'm sorry. Would state your name and address for the record.
Brianna Walker, 1142 Sheridan Street.
Thank you. Tell us about your petition.
Hi, so I'm trying to petition to open a barber shop on the corner of Sheridan and J Street.
Okay? And tell us about that.
So I know the property was previously zoned as like a commercial back in the day, and there has been many businesses in and out of there, as well as a barber shop that I just found out, and then a utility store. I would like to open it because there is nothing on the west side for any west side commuters other than, as far as I know, Great Clips. Great Clips is all the way out east, and as far as Arbor Pike, Chester Boulevard, all the way out to Hose Apple, Williamsburg Pike, there is no like men's or women's personal wellness services.
Any questions of the petitioner?
I don't have any questions.
No questions at this.
Thank you. We'll open up public hearing for BZA 23-2025 for anyone in favor or opposed.
Hi, Leona Mitchell, 344 South 32nd Street, Richmond, Indiana. So, Bree has a very big compassion in her dreams, and little kids too. Anytime they say that they want to do something, sorry, I'm cold, I have a cold. When they say that they want to do something, Bree will talk to them and try to promote their dreams and tell them how it's possible instead of saying, no, don't do this, it's not a good thing, or whatever. Barber is not something that's a high money-making type of field, but Bree absolutely loves it. Not only did she do her schooling, she's also traveled to different conferences. She's traveled to different states to learn new things. And it's not just cutting hair that she does. It's definitely Bree's passion. She also does facials and is looking for other things to do that Richmond does not have. Bree was born here, raised here, left to the military, came back, could have went anywhere else. With her skill set, she could still go somewhere else, but she chooses to stay here in Richmond to try to build the community. She lives on that same block. She bought a house there, so she's not looking to make anything that would cause troubles to the neighborhood that she lives in. There was a kid that she had talked to that had interest in being a barber. She doesn't have a lot of money, but she did what she could to get clippers, shears, a whole kit for this little kid to be able to start practicing and learn new things so that he could be a barber as he got older. She participated in the backpack giveaway for the community and also supplied free haircuts for kids during that this summer in Elstro. She around the time that school was starting, she extended her hours past any of the other shops that were open so that kids were able to get in to be able to get their haircuts because parents work schedules and things like that. So she made it easy for them. She's never been in any trouble, never caused any trouble with anybody. She's definitely a positive influence, and she has a lot of dreams, and she's not scared to try any of them out.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak?
Good evening. My name is Larissa Bradshaw, and I am new to Richmond. And I love being here so far, but I'm a Hoosier. I was born in South Bend, Indiana. Marlene Lindsay from the Black Legacy Project is my cousin, another cousin. And I just want to say I'm just very thankful and blessed to be here. I met Brianna when we were doing a dinner for the veterans just recently, honoring the veterans here in Richmond. And at that stage, she met my husband. I haven't been here just 60 days myself. My husband is an engineer from NJIT. He comes with the package here. And I want to share this with you. He is beginning to lose some memory. So I went to Brianna and I said, he needs a haircut. He's not grooming himself as well as he used to. We're talking about an engineer who's beginning to lose his memory. Look a little bit like Smokey Robinson. And the story is Brianna put him in the chair, and she talked to him, listened to him, and actually understood some of his needs and cut his hair. We've been back 2 times. I think Friday we have another one. The caring nature of individuals are so important in the community. To inspire, to want to be more within a community is something that we all want in our nation. Brianna wants to do business in this community, and I think it's an opportunity for all of us to welcome that youth. I don't know about you, but I'm aging. It'd be nice to have some younger folks around to help carry some of the responsibility that we look for responsible members. So I want to share with you, in the short time I have gotten to know her, she's been working with the Black Legacy Project. She's also been working with the boxing camp, and she's going to be helping even down with the revitalization as we begin to decorate downtown. So join us and just go ahead and let's welcome your new business partner, Brianna Walker. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? That would have been a tough act to follow.
I know, right? I was like,
With that, I'll close public hearing. Here's staff report.
Thank you. The petition of Brianna Walker, owner and agent, location of 1029 Sheridan Street here in Richmond, requesting a variance of use to allow a barbershop to operate in the urban residential district. The use right now is residential dwelling. The zoning is urban residential. Lot size is 2,526.48 square feet. Acreage is 0.58. The zoning in all directions is urban residential. The land use to the north is single-family residential. To the south is a residential vacant lot. To the east and the west is both residential, single-family. The unified ordinance that we're seeking relief from is it's not a permitted use, haircutting. So the proposed variance would allow a barber shop with 4 to 5 chairs to operate on the first floor of 1029 Sheridan Street in the urban residential zoning district. Property was originally constructed in 1910 as a commercial building at that time. It is part of the J.W. Newman addition, which was platted in 1865. According to the April 20th, 1920 edition of the Palladium item, the property was used as a grocery store. Records are unclear as to when it was converted to a residential. A variance of use petition was filed and approved by a 4-0 vote in March of 1989 to permit the operation of a barbershop and variety store along with the residential apartment on the second floor at BZA 11, 1989. On October 29th, 2025, the public hearing was advertised in the Western Wayne News. October 30th, 41 adjacent property owners were notified by the variance and public hearing by mail.
We received 3 responses in favor. Pablo Contreras Julian, 1106 Sheridan Street, in favor. Gary Deering, 1015 Butler Street, in favor. Cynthia Blue, I'm writing in support of my friend Bree and her request for a zoning variance to operate a barber shop from her home. Bree is an asset to our community and uplifts those around here. She goes above and beyond for her clients, providing special attention and care to individuals with special needs, challenging kids to get good grades, and creating an environment that is welcoming and safe for everyone. Her barbershop would not only provide a niche amenity in our area, but also serve as a place that brings people together, celebrating both community and culture. Our county is rich in nature and community, but we can continue to strengthen it by supporting small community-based businesses that add character and services to our neighborhoods. I believe community is built on mutual support. Allowing Bree this opportunity will help her grow her business while continuing to give back in meaningful ways. I strongly encourage the board to approve her variance request. Thank you for your time and consideration. Cynthia Blue.
Planning staff consulted with all departments and utilities to determine any objections based on public health and safety. No health and safety objections were raised. Staff recommends approving the petition to allow a barbershop to operate in the urban residential zoning district. Upon these findings of facts, the approval of the variance will not be injurious to the public safety, health, morals, and general welfare of the community because the barbershop will operate by appointment only. Hours will be Tuesday through Thursday, 11 to 5, and Friday and Saturday, 11 to 7. This approach is intended to generate minimum traffic and maintain the characteristics of the neighborhood to provide a service that benefits the community without negatively impacting public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. Number 2, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner because the building has been used in a similar fashion since the 1900s. There is ample street parking available both on Sheridan and Northwest J Street and does have plans on asphalting the rear of the property for additional parking if needed. The mixed-use combination of a ground floor business and upstairs residence is compatible with nearby land uses and typical of Richmond's older neighborhoods where small corner businesses historically served local residents. Number 3, the need for the variance does arise from some condition peculiar to the property involved because the property was constructed in 1910 as a commercial building and occupies a long, narrow lot with little yard area. These physical and historical characteristics are unique to this parcel and not shared by typical residential lots in the area. Number 4, the strict application of the terms of the ordinance will constitute an unnecessary hardship if applied to the property because strictly limiting the use to residential purposes would create an unnecessary hardship. The structure's commercial design, the lack of a typical residential yard space, and a long, narrow configuration make it impractical. Allowing the first floor to operate as a small barbershop while maintaining a residential unit upstairs provides a reasonable and appropriate use that preserves the building and supports the neighborhood vitality. The approval does not, number 5. The approval does not interfere substantially with the Richmond Rising community action because additionally, the plan's future land use map identifies the subject property as traditional neighborhood moving forward. Among numerous land attributes for the urban mixed use, the ground floor commercial use, such as a barbershop with residential apartments upstairs, is consistent with Richmond's comprehensive plans. There are no written commitments. Be happy to answer questions.
Any questions to staff?
I have no questions.
No questions.
Call the roll, please.
I'll make a
Oh,
motion.
yeah, we got to do a motion thing.
Can I ask one? I have one question for Brianna. So you were in the military? Yes, sir. Which branch and what was your MOS?
United States Army, and I was a 91 Bravo BW.
All right. I was military police, Army. So.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your.
So I'll make a motion to approve BZA 23-2025 based on the finding of facts.
Second.
A motion is second to approve BZA 23-2025 based on a staff report and finding of facts. Call the roll, please.
Jeff Cook.
Aye.
Rob Tidrow.
Aye.
Sayward Salazar.
Aye.
Nathan Sheets.
Aye.
Josh Imhoff.
Aye.
Good luck. I don't think we've ever been applauded before.
I don't think I've ever seen someone with so much
I think
support
that's
before.
Last on our agenda tonight is BZA 24-2025.
That's the innovation.
Francisco Torres.
I don't need to be too loud. Well, I'm Eric Munger. I'm spokesperson for Francisco Torres. He resides at 3003 Southeast Parkway. To give a little background why we're here, they began construction on a shelter. His son-in-law and some friends started this project with no plans. They didn't get any permits. They actually just, I think, some post in the ground where they thought they wanted to put this structure in and began building. They didn't realize the need to have the permits. When I got there about the fourth day or so, I'm looking at the structure and I'm like, wow. I said, you got to go downtown and get a permit. So, I mean, that's why we're here. I mean, basically, he needs 3 variances on it. First one is the height of it is 17 feet. The actual height of the pitch of the house is 16. Most of the stuff I didn't know until I was told from the office, so I think they'll land for it too. That's the first variance they're looking for. The second one is the east side is directly on the property line. According to the image that they provide for us, and I don't know if we're going to object to it, but the neighbor and him did not even realize that's where the property line was. There was a portion of a chimney barbecue pit that was actually extending beyond this that they tore down that faced his house. So, I mean, we're already questioning where it is, but the neighbor doesn't have any concerns about it and has actually told him that we met with him and said he could utilize all the way up to his fence, which Francisco's maintained and mows and takes care of since he's lived there for around 10 years. And the third variance is the size of the structure. I'm not sure myself what the square footage is allowed. I mean, first we were told it was 700 feet. We came up with around 780 feet that the structure was built. We looked at trying to tear down 80 square feet of it, and I mean, it just doesn't seem like it's going to diminish the structure itself. I mean, then I was told it was 800 square feet that he was allowed to have, and we didn't even have to worry about the size. And now we're looking at 433.75 square feet. So I don't even know where we're getting our figures. I know the structure is under 800 square feet, which it says it's 896. So I guess we're asking for the 3 variances to be approved. The structure is really a very nice structure. I mean, Aaron Jordan was over there. It's over-designed. I think it's built with 8x8 posts. It has 2x12 rafter joints. It's hurricane strapped in. I mean, it's just really well built. But we're asking for approval of the 3 variances. And I guess we'll take any questions.
Questions of petitioner?
So the structure's already been built? The structure has already been
It
built?
was built,
Okay.
yes, isn't it?
Is it up there, Dustin?
It's not.
It's not in there? Okay. That's all. That's my only question.
Beacon's not that fast.
You never know. Sometimes it's, well, Google's sometimes fast.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Not at this point.
Thank you. With that, we'll open up public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak in favor or in opposition?
You got one there. I don't know if you can see him.
If you would, come up and state your name and address, please.
My name's Ken Maurer. I live at 210 South 31st. What is the structure they're building? That's what my question.
What are you building?
It's a shelter. I mean, it looks like something you would see in the park where you'd have picnic benches.
So it's not an enclosed?
Gazebo or pergola?
I live
Live
right there. And you You cannot see it, like, well, I have a lot of brush up there right now, but I can't see it where I'm at, so. I did wonder what he was building.
That's already built.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak?
Larry and Cindy Miller from 211 South 31st Street. And we can see the structure from our house, there's county corner across from us. Our only thing was, what are they building over there? You know, if it's like a picnic shelter, I have no problem with that. If it's starting like an apartment building or apartments or something like that, no.
From the
That
petitioner,
was our only
it is a picnic area.
Yeah.
We don't have any objections to him finishing that.
Thank you.
Invite us over.
Now that we know what we're building, we can close public hearing and hear the staff report.
Thank you. Petition of Francisco Torres, owner and agent at 3003 Southeast Parkway here in Richmond, is applying for 3 variants of development standards, 1 to exceed the maximum height standards, 1 for maximum structure size, and 1 for minimum side yard setbacks in the medium-density, single-family residential R2 district. The use is residential single-family, the zoning is R2, lot size is 19,558.44 square feet, and it's almost a half an acre. The zoning in all directions is medium residential R2, the land use in all directions, single-family residential. What we're seeking relief from is the maximum height standards, maximum structure size, and the minimum side yard setbacks for a 20 feet high for an accessory or recreation-based structure, or 100% height of the primary structure, and 5-foot side yard setback is what the UDO standards are. Section 5.06 C2A, no single structure shall exceed 25% of the footprint of the primary structure for property less than 1/2 an acre, except for carports and detached garages, which are permitted up to 60% of the footprint of the primary structure. The proposed variance would allow for a 17-foot high, up to 896 square foot recreational based structure with a 0 side yard setback on the east side of the property. The subject property is located in Ravina Park. First addition on lots 22 and 23. The single-family dwelling was built in 1951. The primary structure located at 3003 Southeast Parkway is 16 foot in height, and recreation-based accessory structure is 17 feet in height. The maximum allowed square footage of a recreation-based accessory structure is 433.75 square feet based on the 1,735 square feet of the primary structure's footprint. The recreation-based accessory structure construction has started and is almost completed. The owner was unaware of the required zoning and building permits needed before the construction, and there has not been a variance granted before. On October 30th, 2025, 26 adjacent property owners were notified about the variance and the public hearing by mail. On October 29th, the public hearing was advertised in the Western Wayne News.
We received 2 responses in favor. Josh Coyle, 3015 Southeast Parkway, in favor. Dustin and Megan Carfield, 100 and 104 Henley Road. Sounds like plans for a lovely renovation to the home. No issue.
Staff recommends approving the petition to approve the recreation-based accessory structure to seek relief from the maximum structure height, maximum structure size, and the 0 side setbacks to the east. Upon these findings of facts, the approval of the variance will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community, because the recreational-based structure to be located in the southeast corner of the property. The structure is intended to serve as a gathering space for families. We believe this request is appropriate for the property's medium residential, single-family residential R2 zoning district. Furthermore, the proposed structure will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, or general welfare of the community. Number two, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner because the proposed 0-foot side yard setback is consistent with the established character and existing development patterns in the area. According to the Beacon data, several nearby residential properties appear to have similar or reduced setbacks to their primary structures. Furthermore, the proposed recreation-based accessory structure will meet all applicable building codes. The setback reduction will not interfere with access to light, air, or drainage, nor will it create visual or privacy impacts for adjoining property owners. Granting this variance allows for the reasonable use of the property without diminishing the enjoyment or value of the surrounding homes. And number three, the strict application of the terms of the ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property because the current limitations on accessory structure size, height, and setbacks appear designed for small storage sheds rather than functional recreation or gathering structures. Given the property's existing layout and residence placement options are limited, the proposed 896 square foot shelter house is a functional size required to safely and reasonably accommodate the intended recreational use. Without the requested variances, the property owner would be unable to utilize the property for this purpose despite having sufficient lot area. This situation represents a genuine practical difficulty. There is one written commitment. No further construction shall commence until all zoning and building permits have been approved and issued by the City of Richmond's Infrastructure and Development Office and the Building Department. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions?
I have no questions.
No.
Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve BZA 24-2025 based on the finding of facts and the written commitment.
Second.
Motion is second to approve BZA 24-2025 based on the staff report, finding of fact, and the written commitment. Call the roll.
Jeff Cook,
Aye.
Rob Tidrow,
Aye.
Sayward Salazar,
Aye.
Nathan Sheets,
Aye.
Josh Imhoff.
Aye.
Petition passes. Good luck.
Thanks.
The filing deadline for next month's meeting, December the 10th, was today, and we have one.
I have one.
So see y'all next month. Without motion to adjourn,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.